Assalamu alaikum, inshallah you're well guys. So starting a grad role or apprenticeship is great. For many of us it may be the first professional role in our career. We're getting paid a good salary, good career prospects on offer, but sometimes it doesn't always work out. You may start the role and then find out actually this isn't for me. I don't want to do this for the rest of my life or for the rest of my training contract, and you may want to switch service lines. Inshallah today I'm going to give you some tips to help you navigate that move. Now firstly guys, I just want to make it clear that by following these tips you're not guaranteed success. Actually it's very difficult to negotiate or navigate a move whilst you're still in a training contract. And there can be many reasons for this. Firstly, your current team are losing a resource and they don't want that to happen. Secondly, the team that you want to move to, they're gaining a new resource, but not at the right time. They have to spend time upskilling them. That's taking resources away from projects. And thirdly, there could be complications with your qualification. Say you work in audit, you may study for the ACA qualification. But if you want to move to tax, it's the CTA. So what happens there? Do you carry on with the ACA? Do you leave it there? Do you start the CTA? All of these reasons combined contribute to why firms are not in favor of trainees moving service lines partway through their training contract. If you work in a small firm, it gets even more complicated. What if you just have 5 to 10 employees in your firm and all you offer are accounting services? Well, if you don't like it, there's no other option but to quit your role and look elsewhere. And guys, I'm not trying to put you off. I totally understand it. Sometimes we join service lines and we don't like it. We want to move elsewhere. I just want to make sure that you have realistic expectations. Not that this is impossible, but it is very difficult. First thing, which sounds quite obvious, is you've got to know why you want to move. Now, for a lot of people, the answer is, I hate my job. I don't like what I'm doing. But for me as a manager, if someone was to say that to me, I would think, what does that even mean? Do you not like everything that you do? Because that's quite hard to believe. Is there a particular project that you don't like to do? Are there certain tasks that you don't like to do? Is it the ways of working? Is it project based? You need to be much more specific. You need to sit down and jot down the reasons why you want to switch service lines. And only once you're clear on that can you convey the message to someone else. If through this exercise you identify, actually, it's not like I thought, I don't actually hate the role, it's just I don't like working on a particular project. In my head, that's not a good enough reason to switch service lines because there will be elements of the role that we don't enjoy as much as others. So for example, for me, it's the admin side. I don't enjoy it, but I accept it is an element of my role. And to be honest with myself, there will be elements of admin wherever I go next in my career anyway. You can't just focus on the negatives and ignore the positives. You need to have a balanced opinion. So once you know why you want to leave, you need to evaluate your options. If you don't want to do tax, what is it that you want to do? Do you want to go into consulting? And to be clear of that, you need to have a detailed understanding of a day-to-day role in consulting or the team that you do want to move to. So you need to be networking. It's very important you network with other graduates or other apprentices who work in that area. Get a really detailed understanding of their day-to-day role. And I'm not talking about a 10-minute conversation. Maybe there can be an opportunity where you can shadow someone. You don't have to tell them, or you shouldn't tell them, that it's because you don't like your current role and you want to move to their team. Always keep your options and your cards close to your chest. It's not the right time to disclose those sort of things, but you need to have a very detailed understanding. The worst thing that can happen is you decide tax isn't for you, you go into consulting, and then you have the same experience or a similar experience and you just want to move again, because that's not going to do any good for your career. So it's important you network, guys. If it was me, I'd go under the pretense that I'm trying to understand other areas better, and I can do that by shadowing trainees from different departments. At this stage, you worked out why you want to move and where you want to move, which may take you around 2 to 3 months to decide, which sounds like a lot, but it's not as simple as just going up to someone and saying, hey, can I shadow you tomorrow? Obviously, they're going to have their roles and responsibilities. So are you. You're going to have commitments to your current team. So it may take a while before you can shadow someone or even meet someone to do research about their role and other service lines that you want to go into. So that's why the initial research stage may take about 2 to 3 months to complete. Then it's time to have an informal chat with seniors in your team to ask them about their experiences. It may be that they've already moved service lines, so we'll be able to give you some advice on that. Every firm has different ways of working, so the seniors will be able to advise you on how best to approach this. Like I said before, guys, the tips I'm giving today do not guarantee success. It may be that they're applicable to working at KPMG, but actually Deloitte have different way of working. So these tips may not be as relevant to people who are at Deloitte. So hence why it's important for you to catch up with seniors so they can give you some advice. They've got much more experience than you. Then you need to come up with an action plan, a plan that causes minimum disruption to both teams. Because if you come up to me as your line manager and you say, Fez, I want to move, but I want to move just before busy season, that That's not going to look good. You need to come up with a plan. Maybe you navigate busy season, then you ask to move or shadow in your new team when it's a bit quieter. That could work for me. It may be that you ask to move in September, where it causes minimum disruption to your new team. That's when new trainees tend to join, so they're going to have to upskill those trainees anyway. So if you join at that time, it's not going to cause much disruption to them. It could be that you ask to move into your new team, but you support 50-50. You spend 50% of your time in your current role, and you spend 50% of your time in your new role to help with that transition process. The point is, you've got to come up with a plan which makes it as easy as possible for me to say yes to. So now it's time to go to your line manager. And when you're going to your line manager, you're going to them with a clear understanding of why you want to move, a clear understanding of where you want to move, and a clear understanding of how you can make this move possible with minimum disruption to both teams. As a manager, I always say to my direct reports, when you come to me with a problem, come to me with solutions too. I don't care if the solution is completely wrong, but it gives me confidence that you're growing and learning and you're thinking about solving problems, not just bringing them to me. So if you come up to me before doing all of your research, shadowing people, coming up with an action plan, and you just say, Fazan, I don't like my role, I hate it, I want to move. There's very little I can do. Where do you want to move? What is it that you don't like? You haven't done that stage. But if you come up to me and say, Fazan, these are my views, this is my plan, this is what I want to do in the future, this is how we can make this work, I'm going to be thinking, wow, this is giving me confidence. This person has clearly thought about this in a lot of detail. Let me go away and see how I can help facilitate this move. If you're giving me confidence that you want to move, I'm going to skip all of those stages where we're wasting time. I'm not going to talk about the positives of the role. I'm not going to say give it time. I'm not going to say you should stay, because I know you've got a clear idea in your head. Once you've had that conversation with your line manager, I'd give them some breathing space. They need to go away and have that conversation with higher ups in their team. They need to maybe have the conversation with HR, and they're going to have the better relationships, not you. So leave them to it. But sometimes what can happen is you don't receive updates on any progress for a while. And what that tells me is that this isn't high on your line manager's priority list. So in that instance, it may be worth giving them a nudge and suggesting to bring HR into the conversation. And you can do this around the lines of, I think HR will be in a good place to give advice on this or to help guide me in my career, rather than saying it as, I don't think you're moving quick enough, so I want to bring HR into the conversation. Remember guys, your line manager support is a great asset in helping facilitate a move, so it's best not to annoy them. Then once you've set up the time with HR where your line manager may or may not be present, best to have your line manager in that meeting guys, because then you don't have to convey the message again. If they're in that meeting, everyone can be aligned on action points, objectives, what to do next, and explain your story, right? It may be that they say, sorry, there's nothing we can do. You can't switch service lines partway through your training contract, which may not be the answer you want to hear, but at least you're not in limbo or where your career is headed. At this stage, you've done your best and done everything in your power. You've sat down, had a clear thought of why you want to move. You've been clear in your head that you want to move. You've gone ahead, tried finding another service line, had chats with your line manager and HR to help facilitate that move. But sometimes we just hear no. And in that instance, it may be best to seek opportunities elsewhere. It's not what you may want to hear, but actually it's better than spending 3 years or 5 years in a career which you won't enjoy. Inshallah, that's the best advice I can offer you at this stage, guys. Hopefully it works out for you. But as always, if you have any questions or queries, please feel free to comment below or message me on Instagram.